Hey, this is Matt from ITY Tech, and today we're going to be discussing how to clone a drive using some free open source software. So, you may need to clone a drive for multiple reasons. First off, you could need to make backups, you could need to deploy something to multiple computers even, and that's actually what we're going to be doing today. For our upcoming event, the YTI Game for Pups LAN party, we're actually going to be cloning multiple hard drives so that we can go ahead and set up multiple machines for everyone to come and play games together. Now, right here, I've got the drive that we're going to be cloning. And inside the computer, we've also got our master drive that has all the data on it. We're going to be using a free Linux-based tool called Clonezilla. It's very easy to get, very easy to use, and we're actually going to have a URL for Clonezilla in the video description if you guys would like to click that. So let's go ahead and get started. Obviously, the first thing we want to do is we want to get this connected to both the data and power cables. And, of course, that's a fairly quick, fairly painless procedure. We're going to leave that drive right there for the time being so that we can go ahead and get that cloned. And then we're going to power the machine on. Now, obviously, we may need to update the boot settings, of course, so that we can get to it from a bootable thumb drive. Now, Clonezilla is available on bootable thumb drives from the Clonezilla website. Once again, that will be in the video description. And once we get to the boot menu, as we can see right here, we're just going to go down to the thumb drive. In our case, it's a SanDisk, and Clonezilla will boot. Now, as you can see from the screen, it's going to have a lot of different options here. The one we're going to concern ourselves with today is Clonezilla Live. And what that's going to allow us to do is just use the flash drive to clone our master drive onto our blank drive. Now, even if you don't have a blank drive, Clonezilla still works. It'll erase the destination disk before it copies any data. So you don't have to worry too much about spending some extra time formatting or anything like that. Like I said, this is all very quick, very easy to use. So we're going to go ahead, tap enter, and get into the Clonezilla Live software. And what that's going to allow us to do, once this finishes loading the Linux operating system that powers Clonezilla, is it'll give us the option to clone this drive. Now that's just going to take a few seconds to get done, so in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to discuss the free open source aspect of Clonezilla. Clonezilla, of course, is completely free to use, completely free to redistribute. It is open source, so it can be modified. And in addition to that, as long as you just give credit to the original manufacturers of Clonezilla, you're perfectly okay to give it out as you see fit under the terms of the GNU GPL. Now, since Clonezilla has gone ahead and loaded, it's going to ask us to choose what kind of language we're going to use. It's available in multiple languages, as you can see. We're going to go with English, and the next thing it's going to prompt us for is the key map, recording the layout of symbols on your keyboard. Now, in most situations, you're not actually going to have to worry about this, so we're going to choose the default option of Don't Touch Key Map. Next up, it's going to go ahead and continue loading Clonezilla, and it'll give us two options. We can either enter a command line prompt, which is the Linux terminal that you already know and love, or it will give you the option to start Clonezilla itself, and that's what we're going to do right now. Next up, it's going to give you the option to work with either a device-to-image transfer, allowing you to clone a disk using an ISO image, or it'll allow you to go from device to device, basically just cloning a disk to another disk. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So once that finishes taking care of itself, it'll prompt us with some more stuff. We've got beginner mode, which is the simple, just press and go option. We've got expert mode, which is going to give you some advanced options for transferring, managing partitions, things like that. And finally, of course, we do have an exit option. We're going to go with beginner here because we're just doing a simple transfer. And then the next options we're going to have are how we're doing this transfer. Now, Clonezilla does support network deployment as well as local disks. So the options we're going to have are disk to local disk, disk to remote disk, partition to local partition, or partition to remote partition. Since we're just doing a disk to disk transfer, it's going to be disk to local disk. Now at this point, it's going to check all of the hard drives that are connected to the computer, and it's going to tell us which ones we can use as a source or a destination. Now, The next thing we need to do is make sure that we have the right source and right destination selected. It's prompting us to select our source now, and what we're going to do in our case is we're actually going to check this against the serial number on the hard drive that we've just connected. Now we can see that the serial number for our destination drive is the one ending in CX. That's actually our top option here. So we're actually going to choose the other drive, the one that's placed in the computer. Next up, as our destination, since there's only one other drive to choose from, we can go ahead and tap Enter. The next option it's going to give us is the standard Linux file system check to confirm the integrity of the drive. And what we're going to do for a quick format is we're actually going to skip that check for the time being. Finally, it's going to ask you to choose whether you'd like to make a choice to reboot or shut down, automatically reboot the computer, or automatically shut the computer down. In our case, we're going to go ahead and go with shut down, since we don't really need to do anything else with the drive at this point in time. It's going to prompt you to continue, and then it will prompt you 3 times if you're sure you absolutely want to continue with this. Now, this is for your safety to make sure there's no unwanted data loss. In our case, since we know that we are going ahead and cloning this, and we are cloning the boot partition as well, we're just going to go ahead and hit yes 3 times. At this point, it's going to go ahead and start cloning data. It's going to be about a 10 to 15 minute process in our case. It may take longer or shorter depending on how much data is on your drive. And from there, we allow Clonezilla to do its thing. Now, when it gets a little bit closer to the end of the Clonezilla process, I will be discussing this a little bit further with you guys. Alright, so now that our Clonezilla is finishing up, I'd like to go ahead and talk about what that's doing for us today. So, what Clonezilla's done is it's essentially copied everything from the primary hard drive that's inside the computer to the secondary hard drive that we connected to the data and power cables. Now, that is going to be an exact copy. All the user accounts are still going to be there, all the registry keys are still going to be there, and the operating system's still going to be there. So what that means for you is that you can copy this hard drive and use it as a backup. Alternately, you can put it in another computer and have an exact copy of the first computer. Once again, this is Matt from ITY Tech saying thanks again for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you soon on July 15th at YTI's Game for Pups. See ya!